Zelensky is a reliable puppet of the West. He will keep singing the same old song until the CIA, MI6, or both invite him onto a plane to London, from where they will whisk him and a few of his cronies off to some other location. There they will live out the rest of their days in luxury while Ukraine sinks into ruin and devastation for years to come. And that's precisely what he's driving at. Zelensky knows full well that he is no brave soul with Ukraine's best interests at heart. Let's not forget, this man wasn't even Ukrainian originally. He was born in Russia and spoke Russian. It's tragic. It's a farce in the most negative sense of the word.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're now going to delve into Mr. Zelensky's supposed masterpiece, the so-called master plan that has everyone scratching their heads, or rather rolling on the floor, laughing. As Colonel retired Douglas Macgregor aptly pointed out in a recent interview, the West's obsession with prolonging this conflict seems destined to end only in disaster for Ukraine. It makes you wonder how many days Putin and his cabinet will spend roaring with laughter over this display of military genius. So here's what we know. Zelensky's master plan consists of 5 main points and a few secret sub-points to spice things up. Apparently these secret details have something to do with future military aid designed to prolong the conflict until 2025, maybe even 2026, and surprise. The plan also includes the Transnistria region, because why not complicate things further when you're at it, right? Critical analysis of Zelensky's plan. Let's break this down. First, Ukraine needs to join NATO right away, because a speedy accession in the middle of a war is a no-brainer. Second, NATO should station strategic weapons on Ukrainian soil, further escalating tensions in Europe. Third, ramp up weapons production in Ukraine, never mind that most factories are struggling to survive amidst the bombings. Fourth, air defense systems must be deployed to protect airspace. Apparently the Ukrainians are still hoping those gaps in air defense will magically close. And finally, Ukraine will somehow emerge as Europe's leading military power. Colonel retired Douglas Macgregor might have called this plan ambitious, but he probably would have also said it reeks of military nonsense. There is no path, no strategy, just lofty goals and buzzwords. Perhaps they forgot to add, and we'll conquer the galaxy while we're at it. And the cherry on top, if it works, and that's a big if, Ukraine will emerge as the dominant military power of Europe by 2025. A golden age of peace and prosperity awaits, but let's be honest, most Ukrainians aren't holding their breath. Domestic and international reactions. Discontent is brewing fast, and their Western allies are, shall we say, not impressed. Even within Ukraine, the response to this plan has been mixed at best. When public opinion polls show 46 thumbs up and 44 laughing emojis, you know this plan has generated more ridicule than support. At a recent NATO summit, the alliance's new Secretary General vowed to take Ukraine's demands seriously, but the enthusiasm was palpably absent. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz flatly rejected the idea of Ukraine joining NATO anytime soon, leaving Zelensky out in the cold. The White House reiterated its stance: no long-range missile strikes on Russian territory, no matter how much Ukraine desires them. As Colonel retired Douglas Macgregor pointed out, NATO's hesitation is a sign of the deeper realization that this is not just Ukraine's war, but a geopolitical minefield. Zelensky tried sweetening the deal by promising the West access to Ukraine's $1 trillion worth of strategic resources, namely uranium, titanium, lithium, and graphite, but as Macgregor noted, no amount of riches can hide the stark reality. Ukraine's situation on the battlefield is deteriorating by the day. If you like the video, please like, share, and comment. It will help the channel grow. The reality on the ground, it's like holding a shiny apple just out of reach. Sure, Western powers would love to do more, but they also know that jumping in headfirst would only make matters worse. And with the military momentum on Russia's side, the risks are simply too high. Meanwhile, Zelensky's allies are getting nervous. They see the writing on the wall. This is not going to end well for Ukraine, no matter what promises are made or what resources are thrown their way. Back in Ukraine, disillusionment is setting in. Even members of the Ukrainian presidential administration are starting to see his plan for what it is, a desperate attempt to prolong the war. And the public's reaction speaks volumes. In a recent online poll, Zelensky managed to garner 46 supporters, but received 44 laughing emojis. At a recent NATO summit, the alliance's new Secretary General vowed to take Ukraine's demands seriously. But the enthusiasm was palpable, absent. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz flatly rejected the idea of Ukraine joining NATO anytime soon, leaving Zelensky out in the cold, and the White House reiterated its stance: no long-range missile strikes on Russian territory no matter how much Ukraine desires them. As Colonel retired Douglas Macgregor noted, no amount of riches can hide the stark reality. Ukraine's situation on the battlefield is deteriorating by the day. It's like holding a shiny apple just out of reach. Sure, Western powers would love to do more, but they also know that jumping in head first would only make matters worse. And with the military momentum on Russia's side, the risks are simply too high. Meanwhile, Zelensky's allies are getting nervous. They see the writing on the wall. This is not going to end well for Ukraine, no matter what promises are made or what resources are thrown their way. Back in Ukraine, disillusionment is setting in. Even members of the Ukrainian government are starting to see his plan for what it is: a desperate attempt to prolong the war. And the public's reaction speaks volumes. In a recent online poll, Zelensky managed to garner 46 supporters, but received 44 laughing emojis, not exactly a vote of confidence. Russia's military buildup. Colonel retired Douglas Macgregor saw this coming a mile away. He predicted that as public frustration mounts, the cracks within Ukraine would start to show, and we're now witnessing this unfold in real time. Even Putin's spokesperson Dmitry Peskov scoffed at the plan, calling it another version of the US strategy to fight until the last Ukrainian. And the fun doesn't stop there. Zelensky gave NATO 3 months to respond to his demands. But without a clear plan for the future, how exactly does Ukraine intend to defeat Russia? That question he conveniently left unanswered. Even his closest advisors seem to think this plan is a joke, and for good reason. Without a clear strategy and achievable goals, it resembles a theatrical performance more than serious policy. Now, let's get down to the serious stuff. Over the past 6 months, Russia has quadrupled its bomb production. Yes, you heard that right. 4 times the firepower rolling off the assembly lines. And this isn't just Russian propaganda. Ukrainian military observers have confirmed this surge after analyzing unexploded ordnance on the battlefield. As Colonel retired Douglas Macgregor pointed out, this production shift reflects a strategic move away from Cold War leftovers and towards a modern, precision-guided war. In the last month alone, Russia has used 647 kb bombs, and that number is only going up. It's not just about replenishing stockpiles, it's about adapting to a new way of fighting. And let's not forget the FAB bombs, the so-called unguided bombs, which are now getting a little upgrade. Russia doesn't even have to produce new bombs, they're simply slapping guidance kits onto old ones, turning them into low-cost, semi-smart munitions. Talk about military efficiency. This production surge isn't just about stockpiling, it's about overwhelming Ukrainian defenses with sheer volume. Even with NATO's support, churning out thousands of these upgraded bombs month after month is proving to be a daunting challenge. Furthermore, Russia's decision to prioritize smart bomb production reflects their growing reliance on precision strikes, making Ukraine's response even more difficult. With so many bombs in play, Russia only has one bottleneck. It needs more planes to drop them all. That's how massive their stockpiles are. And with each bomb dropped, Ukraine's defenses grow thinner, forcing Kiev into an increasingly reactive position. The drone threat. But bombs aren't the only weapons in Russia's arsenal. Let's talk drones, because Russia's drone offensive is causing just as much chaos on the battlefield. In recent days, Russia has deployed over 100 drones over Ukrainian territory, wreaking havoc in key regions. These are not random airstrikes, these are targeted attacks on critical infrastructure like power plants, military warehouses, and communication centers. Colonel retired Douglas Macgregor noted that Russia's use of drones isn't just about harassment, it's part of a calculated strategy to cripple Ukraine's infrastructure before the harsh winter sets in. The goal is simple: cripple the power grid and sow chaos among the population. With over 100 drones in the air at once, it's clear that these attacks are not just about sending a message, but about degrading Ukraine's ability to fight back. Kyiv reported several explosions in the past 48 hours, but there were no official reports on damage. The drones are hitting fast and leaving chaos in their wake. With Ukraine's air defense system whittled down to a bare minimum, Russian forces appear to have control over key areas of the battlefield. The timing couldn't be worse. These drone strikes come as winter approaches, putting further strain on Ukraine's already battered infrastructure. This isn't just a tactical operation. Russia is playing the long game, attempting to deplete Ukraine's energy resources and morale. Ukraine's economic collapse. While bombs and drones do their thing in the skies, there's no respite on the economic front either. Let's take a closer look at the economic meltdown unfolding in Ukraine. Ukraine, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, Ukraine's economy has plummeted to 150th place out of 165 countries in the Index of Economic Freedom globally. That's right, Ukraine is now rubbing shoulders with the likes of Yemen, Libya, and Syria. Talk about an elite club! Colonel retired Douglas Macgregor warned months ago that unchecked corruption and irresponsible spending would eventually come back to bite, and we're now witnessing this collapse in real time. Under Zelensky's leadership, Ukraine has been breaking records, but not the kind you want to brag about. The economy is in freefall and the social fabric is unraveling right alongside it. At this rate, Ukraine might soon need a new plan, perhaps one focused on avoiding the abyss, rather than trying to become Europe's military powerhouse. Because right now, they're falling fast, and there's no safety net in sight. Even with billions in foreign aid pouring in, the money doesn't seem to be reaching where it's needed most. The economy is trapped in a vicious cycle, overly reliant on external support and crippled by the ongoing conflict. The longer this drags on, the harder it will be for Ukraine to recover. As Macgregor pointed out, it's like pouring water into a leaky bucket. Throwing money at a broken system won't achieve anything. Sooner or later, the bucket runs dry, and the ones who suffer are the ordinary Ukrainians, not the politicians in Kiev. With the military situation worsening and the economy in ruins, the outlook for Ukraine appears increasingly bleak. Conclusion and outlook. As we wrap things up, let's leave you with a few parting thoughts on the current state of affairs. There you have it, a master plan that offers no clear path to victory, dwindling public support, and an economy in freefall. As Colonel retired Douglas Macgregor said, time is running out for Ukraine, and the window to salvage anything meaningful is closing fast. Even Scott Ritter would agree, this conflict is turning into a tragic comedy with each passing day, and so the drama continues. Russia advances, the West fumbles, and the saga continues. Subscribe for more updates.